The Toronto Raptors get a gutsy win, man, when the entire world is ripping your franchise to shreds, talking about your team's toughness, how you fallen to seventh. That is a gut check moment for a team that internally is a lot tougher than people realize. As I said yesterday in our live, I felt the criticism had gone too far. Is it warranted to say someone should have stuck up for for Jamal Shed? Yes. Is it warranted to say the Raptors have not been playing their best basketball? Yes. But as Darko Rajakovic, in his absolutely only he could say it this way, he said, yes, a storm is coming, but on the other side of the storm, there is good weather. You guys don't need to be afraid. Well, maybe this is the start of a really sunny period for the Toronto Raptors, who happen to play in Toronto, where it hasn't. I don't think I remember the last time the sun shone. Snowy day today. It was a storm. It was a storm, and we know Darko hates shoveling. But the Toronto Raptors have a very mixed game. But it all's well that ends well is one thing I will say. Some people are going to criticize that Scotty Barnes had 14 points. To you, I would say maybe you need to find a different sport to care about, because I think there was so much defensively that Scotty did tonight, which was incredible. But of course, today's game is about Brandon Ingram's 36-point shot making masterclass against a team that had two bucket getters who were getting it going. Jalen Green with 34 freaking points. He was unstoppable. RJ couldn't stop him. Scotty couldn't get him at the rim. Jamal Shed had a really great defensive possession on him. He couldn't stop him. Jalen Green was getting anything he wanted. And eventually the Raptors in the fourth quarter, there's something to be discussed about a team playing on a back-to-back. Do they have enough gas to get through that fourth quarter? Because again, you can come out really strong in the first quarter, second quarter, maybe even the third quarter. But in the fourth quarter is when your depth and everything gets tested. And I got to tell you, the Suns collapsed in the fourth quarter. They managed to score 2 field goals in the last 8 minutes of this game. Take a look at this game right here. This is what the game looks like. In terms of win probability, the Toronto Raptors were dead in the water. To start this fourth quarter, it was a double-digit lead. The Suns led by as many as 11, 12 points, and it did not look like the Raptors had any positive momentum flowing at all. They did come out to a really good start, which was good to see. But then Scotty Barnes picks up 3 fouls very early in the second quarter. I think a minute into the second quarter, he picks up his third foul. He has to go out for a bit. The Phoenix Suns build up a bit of a lead. Scotty comes back. It gets even bigger, right? And in the third quarter, they go. There were so many different places where the Raptors found success. I think 3 keys to success tonight. Scotty not in the corners was a very positive thing. Who was in the corners? Jamison Battle, Jacoby Walter, who had a good game off the bench, Emmanuel Quickly at times, RJ Barrett at times. Frankly, any one of those people are better in the corners than Scotty Barnes. Where was Scotty? Dunker spot, middle of the court, nail. That's where you want him. That's where you want him. And so many of the Raptors' best possessions came with him playing center. This is not because he is a center, but because on this roster, in order to work with the lack of spacing that the Raptors have, maybe Scotty playing center might be a temporary solution that can get you some wins, especially against a team that was missing Mark Williams tonight and Dylan Brooks. I have to tell you, if the Phoenix Suns are healthy, I pick the Phoenix Suns to win this game. However, they are not healthy. And the Raptors, again, they are still missing Colin Murray-Boyles. Scotty Barnes is obviously banged up. Didn't even start the third quarter because he was in the back getting his hand taped up. So yeah, like the Raptors are not fully healthy either. But a welcome sight for sore eyes is the guy who just 5 games ago went on a streak of not being able to crack 14 points and was looking very bad. Brandon Ingram, they finally find a way to use him properly. Now, to people who checked out my live yesterday, what did I say? This is not a victory lap moment, but it is a moment to share perspective. Brandon Ingram is a really good player. The Raptors have no idea how to use him. Today, I believe the Raptors found a really great way to use him. He had coverages against Oso Ighodaro, Devin Booker. I'm sorry. Apart from Dylan Brooks, there's nobody on that roster who has a chance in hell of guarding that guy. Not Kaman Malawach, who Brandon Ingram took at the rim. Not Rasheer Fleming, who is a rookie who had a great game, has a lot of potential. Ryan Dunn did not play. So again, there's not really a matchup here that you should be scared of. Jalen Green is a bad defender. Colin Gillespie is all right. He's a pretty good defender. Oso Iguodala is a very good defender. The guy that Scotty Barnes took off the dribble and put into the rim, he's a good defender. But there's only one of him. And Royce O'Neal is just okay at this point. He's kind of a corner shooter. He took 9 shots tonight, all 9 from 3, made 2 of them. I think Royce O'Neal had a bad game. But overall, the Toronto Raptors don't need to be afraid of this team. And Haywood Highsmith, a player that I hyped up as like, this is the guy that the Raptors should target, I think he probably presented the best matchup for either Scotty or Ingram. But unfortunately, he played 19 minutes off the bench. And did they win those minutes? No, they did not. They lost them by 3. The only player who was overtly positive is the analytics darling Colin Gillespie. In his 26 minutes, they were a +7. And that tracks. That tracks. But whenever they went to Grayson Allen kind of playing point, and Grayson Allen had a hell of a game too. He baited the Raptors into a ton of undisciplined fouls. The Raptors have to find a way against better teams that maybe have had a little bit more rest. They're going to have to find a way to match discipline with aggression, defensively and offensively. Sometimes this team is very much, feast or famine when it comes to defensive aggression. Either they're completely hapless, not switching out, not rotating, which happened a lot tonight, by the way. The Suns did not just build up a lead. The Raptors allowed Jalen Green to get going early, and this is a problem. When Scotty Barnes exited the game, I want to actually take you through this. This is the beginning of the end for the Raptors, if you want to be really honest with yourself. In the first quarter, right here, right? This is around, I want to say about 9-minute mark right here, 8-minute mark. This is around when Scotty Barnes exits the game. The score was 3-10. Scotty exits the game at 3-10. Jalen Green makes a 3 literally on the next possession because somebody does not rotate out to him. And I believe that somebody was Emmanuel Quickley because he was splitting the difference between 2 defenders. He ends up getting another 3. And now you have taken one of the most skilled scorers in the NBA and given him the optics of this could be my night. They don't need a lot. Guys like Devin Booker, why don't you call in, dummy? The worst in the panel would never disrespect people in real life. I've been disrespecting people in real life my whole life, bro. You don't know me. So here's the thing. There's a call-in link. You can call in and actually have a man-to-man conversation with the man with no facial hair, or you could just get banned. But you ain't going to call in because calling in requires nuts that you don't have. All right. Now, point being here, we got right? And the Phoenix Suns build up this big lead because Jordan Knott is a freaking offensive genius. Did anyone notice how clean and open their looks are? Man, they missed so many open threes tonight. The Raptors dodged bullet after bullet after bullet tonight. Royce O'Neal, open, miss. Colin Gillespie, open, miss. Devin Booker, open, airball. Like, this was not the Raptors defense that showed up in the fourth quarter as much as it was, quite frankly, the Suns just shooting themselves in the foot and having a pretty poor shooting night. Take a look at the team stats here before we look at individual performances. The Phoenix Suns shot 43% from 3. The Raptors shot 52% from 3. Part of why they shot 52% from 3 is Scotty Barnes attempted absolutely 0 free three-pointers tonight. But 52% from 3 against a team that Josh Lundberg says Scotty is sick. Scotty is sick and Scotty is hurt. So Scotty is sick and he is hurt. However, apparently, according to some people, Scotty is also soft. So, that big block down the stretch and probably the play of the game. I don't think soft players do that when they're sick and hurt. But you know what? It's gotten to a point where it's a little bit like the Kyle Lowry thing with Scotty Barnes now, where every single time he plays poorly, his defenders will run to the podium and say, "Hey, Scotty's hurt, Scotty's hurt," and people are sick and tired of hearing it. Listen, man, when you are a physical player who plays defense the way Scotty Barnes does, you're going to pick up a lot of injuries. Alvin Williams played hurt a lot. Some people have a different pain threshold. I believe personally that pain threshold and the ability to play through pain is exactly what makes you tough. But hey, man, we can debate it another day. My point here is the Raptors win the rebounding battle. They shoot better from 3 than one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the league, and they get more assists. They get more steals, they get fewer blocks. Um, they match them in the turnovers. They narrowly win the fast break point battle, and they dominate in the paint. And dominating in the paint was a huge thing for the Raptors tonight. They were bigger tonight with Jakob Poeltl in there, and the Suns led for 71% of this game. But when it came time, closing time, Devin Booker was a ghost. He did not show up at all, and I think the Raptors capitalized on the fact that Jalen Green spent way too much time on the bench. I'll praise Jordan Ott for being a really, really smart coach. Jalen Green is coming back from injury, so maybe he was on a bit of a minutes restriction, although you really didn't feel it tonight, did you? Like Jalen Green ends up with 35 minutes. He led all Suns in minutes, and it's just like when he went to the bench in the fourth quarter is when the Raptors really took over this game, and I don't think he came back soon enough. So maybe on a back-to-back, they don't want to push him past 35 minutes. It's very, very possible for a team that's, missing a wing like Dylan Brooks to go 38, 39, 40 minutes. But hey, man, they're gonna be pretty CMB passed the thumb injury to BI and Scotty and BI passed the sickness to Scotty. Huh. You mean BI passed the sickness to Scotty? I got you. Um anyway, from the Raptors side, of course, a very efficient 36 points from Brandon Ingram and a super ethical one too. Only seven free throw attempts on 20 shots. This is, in my opinion, you can tell Penn loves auction houses just like his ancestors. You dumbass. You don't know who my ancestors are. Go Google Serbian history and tell me how many Serbians are wealthy enough to be calling auction houses. See, this gives me a lack of faith in humanity that you can't call out a performance for stat padding without people saying that you have a racial problem. That's weird to me. I promise you, if the whitest guy in the world had stat padded his way past Kobe Bryant's performance, I would have called it out too. It is kind of interesting though that I feel like Bam's performance is 83 points. Skip Bayless said this thing today. He had this video and he said it felt like someone graffitied on Kobe's grave, or great. It felt like graffiti on Kobe's tomb, and that kind of clicked with me. I was like, yeah, it kind of does cheapen it, right? Because 81 is probably one of the most historic career defining moments for a player, and yeah, apparently Kobe's white, so that's why I like him. This was 100% BI's best game. Absolutely, it was BI's best game. I think the Raptors did a great job going away from Jakob Poeltl down the stretch. This is not disrespect to Jakob Poeltl by any means. You know how much I love big white centers, according to this dumbass. But going with Jacoby Walter and going small with Scotty Barnes was the right move against this team. I mean, they are starting a power forward in Oso Ighodaro, who is more of a perimeter-oriented, really good defender, really smart, connective passer, but not somebody who needs to threaten you inside. This is not Nikola Jokic. This is not Joel Embiid. So you definitely need to, match up with that. I mean, you're losing the basketball game. What do you have to lose? Um, RJ did play well. I actually was very impressed by RJ's defense. Speaking of RJ Barrett, he had 22 points. And apart from that smoked layup and maybe a couple of poor decisions, he played really well tonight. 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, didn't force too much. 1 for 4 from three. Took the ones that came to him, didn't force anything too much. I think there was maybe 1 3 in there that was even questionable remotely. He ends up with a plus 9. Brandon Ingram with a plus 17. Scotty Barnes with a plus 7. Those three and Jacoby Walter was definitely one of your best players tonight. I didn't love Emmanuel Quickly's game, to be honest, but he did catch fire in a moment. There was a moment in time. If you take that moment out, now this is going to sound like hating, and I want to give a trigger warning to people. I'm not hating on Emmanuel Quickly. If you take out that little stretch that he had of positive play, this might be like this fan base might fucking lose their mind if the Raptors lost this game and Emmanuel Quickly plays so shit. But honestly, like it's all the same shit. It's all the same things, man. In the fourth quarter, when the Raptors finally got it going, I think they went through Scotty at the point a little bit more, even if it was like a point center, point forward role. I think the decision making went a little bit more into Ingram and Scotty, and quickly was just spacing out. I think it was the second quarter or the third quarter when the Raptors rallied behind a quickly shed lineup, and I think that was really positive too. And once again, I'll say for the hundredth time, this game proves, just as every game this year has proven, that Emmanuel Quickley is not a point guard. So, as the Raptors move into playoff talks and playoff contention, please keep that in mind, that the best lineups are going to feature Quickley off the ball, moving off the ball, cutting off the ball, spacing off the ball, coming off curls, coming off handoffs. This is the best of Emmanuel Quickley. The worst of Emmanuel Quickley is going to be him navigating pick and rolls, him working into anything other than a simple spread 1-5 pick and roll, anything other than that, anything that requires a little bit more decision making, anything like that pass to Scotty Barnes over the top just goes right to the defense. The pass to the corner gets picked off. Like he is just ugh. Like he got one turnover, and it was the most triggering turnover because it was so obvious you don't throw that pass. But it's just it's yes, there's a turnover, but like how many times do you turn over like momentum, like by not executing on a play? Do you know what I mean? There was an incredible Scotty moment, and there was also a blooper from Scotty. And because this channel is heavily pro Scotty, we're not going to show the blooper. But I will tell you that Scotty Barnes received a pass on a fast break and dribbled it off his face. That definitely did happen, and I think Trace Jackson Davis's reaction said it all. Like, oh my god, maybe Scotty wants to have that one back. It's funny how once in a while something like that will always happen to Scotty Barnes. But yeah, and he also had probably the play of the game, in my opinion. Um, the block on Jalen Green and the pass, the connective pass to RJ Barrett. It was just such a encapsulating beautiful sequence. I do want to give a shout out to one of our Hall of Fame members who I happen to know came into Toronto specifically to go to this game. Shout outs to Karen Hall, who did go to this game and may watch this later. I have no idea. But shout outs to Karen. She was worried. Scotty's her favorite player. She was worried that maybe Scotty wouldn't play tonight because he was a late game, game time decision. But getting to see that play, probably worth the price of admission tonight. This is the funniest comment in the history of comments. Bro, Grady has so much potential if only he hit his shots. Do you know how many players you could say that about? I personally was very relieved to see that Jameson Battle and Jacoby Walter got the call up today. Grady Dick, for those who cannot see the screen, got a DMP-CD today. The fifth starter or the fifth player that came off the bench was Jonathan Mobo. I think he had like two separate, like 1 second, 15-second blips. So the Raptors basically went 9 deep tonight. They do have a very, very important game at home Sunday against the East leading Detroit Pistons. Rest up, Scotty Barnes. You're not going to get away with Brandon Ingram taking, the bulk of the offensive load against that team, especially if they're even remotely healthy. They haven't been playing their best basketball lately, but man, the Pistons are tough. They have Isaiah Stewart back. You lost to this team last time convincingly, and they didn't have Isaiah Stewart. So there's a lot of positive momentum on this game. This is a play-in team. This is a team that is technically better than you, at least, by the record. This is a team that was playing relatively well, even though they are coming on a back-to-back. They had won 4 straight. They are a good away team. Prior to this game, they entered this game 17-14 away because they haven't played most of their away games yet, which also explains their, beastly record. They are a play-in team in the Western Conference. A lot of people believe that the Raptors would probably be a low-end play-in team in the Western Conference. I think that's progress over where the Raptors were last year. So I just think that the Raptors have some momentum here. This is something you can sleep on and feel good about yourself. You don't have to go home and explain to your wife or your kids why you're such a bitch because you didn't stand up for Jamal Shed and punch someone in the face. I just want to say something. I should have said this yesterday. Let me say this. All this talk about Jamal Shed, all this talk about what the Raptors didn't do, I found it a little bit stupid. But I will say this. This team fought a lot harder tonight. They fought with a lot more purpose. They fought with a lot more conviction. There were a couple of chippy moments. No, these are not bad guys. Okay, these are not bad guys. And all I know, in my heart of hearts, I know this to be true. If Scotty Barnes had charged up to DeJounte Murray and swung on him, I guarantee you the media would call him a thug, immature, uh, attitude issues, guaranteed. If he got a suspension on that, oh, he's irresponsible. This is what you get a max contract for, whatever, whatever, whatever. If he had pushed him, swung him, and gotten into, like, you got to understand at some point, man, DeJounte Murray is like 195 pounds dripping wet. If Scotty Barnes goes and pushes him, like, dude might get charged for manslaughter. Okay. Darko said won't happen again. Something I got to explain. Darko's honest thoughts on that were after the game, where he said it was overblown. Darko's re-policed political thoughts are today, where he says, "Oh, it won't happen again. We looked over the film, we talked about it, whatever, whatever." Y'all gotta understand, like there's a difference between what you think and what you have to say. With all the media backlash on the team being soft, I'm sorry. As Darko Rajakovic, you are a political spokesperson. We don't talk to Bobby Webster every day. You represent the organization. You are, hey, people don't want to think about it. Head coach is a front office position. When the Raptors list out their front office, it's GMs, scouts, assistant general manager, coaches. The head coach is the representative of the front office to the media. Why do you think Darko went through so many rounds of interviews testing his media skills? Because that was the one thing that a lot of people felt maybe he couldn't do. Now, I think he's been fantastic at it. He's very positive. He often takes time to teach morons who do not understand basketball little simplicities of basketball. And I think he has contributed greatly to the collective basketball IQ of everyone who covers this team, myself included. So I think that that's good. But Darko Rajakovic is under fire when his team is being called soft and the media is turning in everything is soft, soft, soft. All the talking points. Aaron Rose, I'm sure Sid Sixero, if he said anything, I'll guarantee you JD Bunkus, if he said anything, William Liu, everyone is going to say, oh, the Raptors are soft. The Raptors are soft. Forget about the fact that they got guys playing hurt, that they play together, that they play disciplined for the most part, apart from, when they go completely haywire, the fact that they've overachieved, the fact that guys have played through pain, played through injury, played hard defense, the fact that they guard 94 feet. You have guys like Jamal Shed and of course, RJ Barrett with his fucking bullshit ass quote of like, oh, well, you'll notice I was on the bench. I would have done something. Okay, cool, man. I'm sure you would have. I'm sure you would have. And maybe you got a suspension or a fine. But I will say this, if Scotty Barnes pushes DeJounte Murray, that might be the last push of DeJounte Murray's life. And I love DeJounte, and I know that he's a real one and that he's from Seattle and he comes from like, when you're from the trenches, you recognize the trenches. Trust me. Yeah. I know a lot about DeJounte Murray. I've mentioned this before, and I know a lot of people close to him. So that being said, DeJounte's not a punk, right? But this whole thing got overblown because people needed something to say negative about the Raptors, and it's hard to talk that much shit about a team that's you know, over exceeding your expectations. So, people like to I don't know, it's a pump and dump, People got to have something to say. The Raptors lose 3 straight, they're washed, they're sad, they're soft, they're this, they're that, they're not tough because they don't stick up for the little guy Jamal Shed. I don't know, man. I personally think this team's collective identity, or like the media's collective identity, is just a bunch of short guys who think that short guys should be revered. Like, I think it kind of come down to like how they kissed Fred VanVleet's ass, how they kissed Kyle Lowry's ass, how they kissed, Dennis Schroeder's ass, how they love Jamal Shed. These guys just love guys who see eye to eye with them. You know what I mean? Like, and who doesn't? Who doesn't? Everybody loves someone who can see eye to eye with them. So that's how I feel. Like they will never hate on a short player. I don't think I've ever seen a Raptors player who was short get any criticism at all. Fred VanVleet got criticism from me. Let's just be real. He got criticism from me. Like, I don't remember anyone like under 6'2" getting criticism from this media space. Yeah, because they generally just have this opinion that if you're tall, you should be a bully, and if you're small, you should be protected. It's just they have a hockey mindset. It is the hockey mindset. It's the enforcer and the star player mindset. So that's just kind of how I feel about it. And I think this team responded well to some of that criticism. Sometimes, even if you don't believe it, even if it's not fair, even if it's not real, you got to respond. And I think the Raptors, being down big in the fourth quarter and coming back and showing resilience. RJ Barrett played good defense today. I want to hand him out that. RJ Barrett played some of the best on-ball defense I've seen in a minute from him. it was very good. Emmanuel quickly did a pretty good job defensively. He had a couple of stops. Brandon Ingram participated defensively. Scotty Barnes was so much better defensively. I've been criticizing Scotty's defense 1, 2, 3, 4 games now. I've been criticizing Scotty's defense, I think 4 or 5 games since I first noticed like this is a washed effort from Scotty. Well, today it was a lot better. In 31 minutes, he had 6 rebounds. He had 2 blocks, including that huge one we're going to take a look at right now. 1 steal. I don't even think that comes close to measuring his impact defensively tonight. Um, in the first 14 minutes that he played, I'm willing to bet that not a single player scored when he was guarding him. Like, hey, exactly this, right? Credit to Barnes playing sick, not easy. Red Salute saying DeJounte is a punk though, but Jimmy Butler is a real one. What's the difference? No, DeJounte is not a punk, man. He's not a punk. He's an emotional player, though. I'm gonna stick with. I'm gonna stick up for Dejounte Murray till the end of time, man. Like I really love that dude. So if he was on the Raptors, y'all would be celebrating this, but he's not. So you're hating on him. It is what it is. We've had a lot of disrespectful players in the past. We've had a lot of players, who've done some disrespectful shit. I don't hear anything about any of them. Right. So it's just how I feel. Off the bench, Jamal Shad was really good. I mean, you're gonna look at 6 points, but he was masterful in dictating pace. Yes, the Raptors did lose his 25 points, so you might say like, okay, well, was he really that good? Yeah, he was good. I really liked his game today. Overall, I think he took controlled shots. He didn't force the issue. I think he found openings. Guys maybe didn't make shots. Jacoby Walter was my player of the game off the bench, though. 12 points, very good 3-point shooting outing, 3 for 5 from 3. Nice to see him crack 10 points. You can tell he's been sort of fighting himself a little bit. Just really pesky defense. Got cooked a lot defensively tonight, but kept going back for more. Devin Booker is not an easy guy to stop without rim protection behind you. And he forced them into a lot of really tough shots. And early on in the game, Devin Booker made them. Later on, he didn't make them. I do think Scotty is just a leaps and bounds better defender than Jacoby. So obviously, when Scotty was the guy switched on to Devin Booker, the outcome was very, very different. But yes, this is a very talented team. This is a talented team that is optimized under a brilliant young coach in Jordan Knott, who was the catalyst and architect behind some of the success the Cleveland Cavaliers had last year, at least offensively. And I just feel very much in my heart of hearts that this is a game you could have fully lost. This is a game where you could have fully folded, and instead you win by 7. And that is big. And again, Brandon Ingram. It just came back to Brandon Ingram. Isolation, Brandon Ingram. Post up, Brandon Ingram. Coming off the curl, Brandon Ingram. Shot in the corner, Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram got a diverse diet of really good shots. Was I a little bit worried as the Raptors consistently overhammered isolation plays for Brandon Ingram down the stretch? Yes, I was a little bit concerned because I just felt that maybe it's not the greatest idea to become this predictable. But if the Suns are not going to adjust defensively and they don't have the Dylan Brooks out there, then this is exactly what you should be going to. This is certainly better than Emmanuel quickly running Scotty Barnes pick and rolls. Like this is way better than RJ Barrett running isolations off the empty side. Like I think that this is the best form of offense that the Raptors could have done, which is they completely flattened out the floor. They got Brandon Ingram his touches. They spaced out around him. They gave him clear windows for outlets, and he had a favorable matchup every single time he touched the ball. So if you're not going to Brandon Ingram at this case, I think you're doing a disservice to yourself. Now let's take a look at some select plays from this game. Not a ton for the film breakdown, but just enough to give you an idea. Now, I said rotate, man. Look, here's the thing. Here, Sandro Mamukelashvili guarding Jalen Green, right? Now, contest effective, but not very. This is not a good contest by any means. You're a little bit too far away from him. That I guarantee you, Jalen Green practices this shot. This is a practice shot for him, and he can make this. But he hits front rim. Here, we get a offensive rebound given up by RJ Barrett. Don't box out your guy. He's a little bit bigger than you. Fine. Now here, you're going to see something. And how about this? If you're watching this later or you're watching this live, you tell me what went wrong. Let's try to build up our collective basketball IQ instead of me just saying like what I think went wrong. Why don't you tell me what went wrong? And I'll just flash your comments and we can just kind of decide together. So here, Emmanuel quickly gets blown by, completely blown by. Is this a controlled contest? You're running him off the line. So you're forcing him into your help. Good so far. Everything good so far. But you will realize the floor is suddenly starting to look a little imbalanced, right? Because you have Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett kind of doing the same thing. Now, Emmanuel quickly is lost at this point, but he is basically tagging the corner shooter as his man, which means this confusion between 9 to 5 and 5 to 9, 9 to 5 and 5 to 9 is about to result in a wide open look for somebody. Because there's two guys who are not guarding Grayson Allen, but who are also not guarding Rasheer Fleming, who are also not guarding number 19, Haywood Highsmith, who are also not guarding Jalen Green. So basically, the Raptors get stuck on a simple fucking drive and end up giving a wide open three to a guy who has already drilled multiple threes up until that point. This is how Jalen Green got 34 points. Not because he is an incredible bucket getter. He is. You do not get gold stars for how the Raptors guarded Jalen Green. So feel free to figure out who really fucked up that rotation there. Here we go. Let's take a look at this one. Jacoby Walter playing really pesky defense here, forcing Jalen Green into a very tough shot. Now, Jacoby does not exactly have the greatest physical advantages here, but he does just enough to force Jalen Green into an insanely tough shot. And here, this is great. Jakob Poeltl quickly passes to Jamal Shed. Shed, head on a swivel, up. And look at this. Completely botched coverage here in transition. Jacoby Walter, very intelligently, if you can see behind the play, look at Jacoby. Kamal Malawach does not see Jacoby out of the corner of his eye. Royce O'Neal does not see Jacoby. Grayson Allen, or whoever the hell number 12 is completely preoccupied with Emmanuel quickly, and that leaves Jacoby wide open for three, and that cuts the lead to 1. This is the type of play that Jamal Shed will make very often, but sometimes Emmanuel quickly will miss. And this is where I see the value in Jamal Shed or any really good point guard playing next to an Emmanuel quickly, because Emmanuel quickly does create space for point guards to move. The Raptors foul a three-point shooter. This happened multiple times tonight. This time it really burned them. One time it didn't burn them that much because they fouled Grayson Allen. I think he missed 2 free throws, but here it really burns them. And, just be a little bit more controlled on the closeout. Here, the league is protecting shooters. This was the second 3 in a row for Devin Booker, and this one, insult to injury, also gets the free throw to go down. Here, okay, let's pass. Now, this pass needs to go right here. This is a lob. This needs to go up right here if you're Jakob Poeltl. You have a clear advantage. Oso Ighodaro does not have super long arms. I think he has a 7'1" wingspan maximum, and he gets about as high as I do off the ground. He is not some super athlete pogo stick. This is not Victor Wembanyama. You need to process the court a little bit faster. You're a fucking veteran who's being paid $20 million a year to make this play. Scotty Barnes has a wide open dunk here. I don't know why his team sometimes insists on taking away his clearest opportunities and then giving him shit opportunities, but I could have called this play out like immediately. Now, they completely botch it, but here, by the time Jakob realizes, oh, right, I should pass to Scotty, the pass is gone. So Jakob Poeltl passes to Brandon Ingram, and here Ingram is going to pass to quickly. Booker, reckless closeout, kind of gets caught flat-footed, and quickly here decides, instead of forcing a commitment, and this is where I say, like, quickly is just such a poor processor of the court. Instead of forcing a commitment from Oso Ighodaro to get him off, he catches Oso Ighodaro skipping the gap between these two players, and then Ighodaro knows exactly what quickly is about to do because he projects it the whole time, like literally right here. Everybody knows. Like, watch Oso Iguodaro's body because Oso is an incredibly smart player. You don't understand how much I love this dude. Okay, and I've loved him since the draft. He is a immediate pattern recognition guy. You saw a couple times he picked up a foul guarding Brandon Ingram. In the second half, he didn't pick up the foul. He didn't jump on the pump fake. He learns stupidly quickly. He will be a really good NBA player for a very long time, precisely because of how well he spots patterns. But here, watch this, right here. Now, Iguodaro is thinking quickly he's about to score, right? Now, watch his body language change. Right there. Like, he already knew, right? I want to slow it down. One sec. Slow this down. So right here, you have to be a threat to score. You have to be looking at the basket. You have to know Scotty is there. But before Iguodaro commits, this is a floater for you, and you have to treat it as such. You cannot think beforehand, I'm passing the ball to Scotty, because Iguodaro is hedging. He is hedging this bet. Right here, you have already, before even getting any sort of commitment, right here, you should fake the pass to Scotty and go for a floater. Why are you passing to Scotty in this situation? This is not an advantageous situation. But here, Scotty does not finish. There's a foul, lower body, no call. And so, it's not the worst play, certainly not even the worst play Emmanuel quickly made that minute. But when you think about things like this, you really have to, sorry, I don't know why I just dropped that. I don't know why I just said, when you think about things like this, it's the most Toronto thing I've ever said. When you're thinking about things like this, you got to wonder, Scotty Barnes, will he demand a trade? I don't know, man. All right. Okay. So here we go. Good defense. Good defense, good switch, good recovery. Scotty gets back to Booker, cuts it off. And here, Jamal Shed, just a little too overzealous. And Grayson Allen wins the Oscar for best flop ever. Sheesh. Okay. I said this is incredible ball movement. I love this play. I think the broadcasters called it out as well. This was good shit, man. This is great. Here you have Scotty presents himself in the middle of the floor. Perfect. No projection, right? You have two options. Watch the body language on the guy trying to guard Jamison Battle. He's angling towards Scotty making that pass. So Scotty is going to trust Jamal Shed to make this pass, shift the defense so that Jamal can make the pass to Jamison Battle. I believe this ball needs to go to Jamison Battle. I hope that you can see that too. I actually don't remember if it goes to Jamison Battle because I'm having short-term amnesia. Let's see if it does go to Jamison Battle. Battle, stay. Boom. And the gravity unlocks a 3 for Ingram. Perfect. This is beautiful. Zip basketball movement, ball movement. This is the type of ball movement that the Raptors need to rely on if they're actually going to win basketball games on a consistent level. If they're going to have any chance in the playoffs, these are the types of plays that need to become more frequent. And this is just like, again, you throw this pass, you don't hold. This whole thing goes away the second you hold because you got two defenders on you. The second you've drawn two, you've done your job. If you're Scotty Barnes, you've done your job. Obviously, Colin Gillespie, Grayson Allen, these guys, they're not there to protect the rim, right? So Scotty could go right through this right here, okay? That's why they double. That's why they swarm. They swarm, and they're willing to swarm off that corner because Jamal Shed is not a threat to score. But Shed, for whatever reason, Kaman Maluach, Rasheer Fleming closes out in a little bit reckless fashion, I would say. There's really no reason to close out that aggressively when you're that much bigger than him. And Shed just makes the skip pass along the baseline. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. It's a perfect pass. And then the perfect connective pass from Jamison Battle. This needs to be automatic for the Raptors. You've invested so much time into building chemistry, building good habits, developing basketball IQ. This is the definition of point five basketball. This is the type of play the Spurs would make in that situation. You know, the Spurs back when they had Greg Popovich. Uh, okay. So here, kind of a self-imposed bullshit move for the Raptors here. At the end of the third quarter, the Raptors are down four. Colin Gillespie misses a wide open three, wide open at the top above the break. And here, Jameson Battle is coming over to set a screen for some inexplicable reason. I don't know. Jameson is not a great screener, but I understand that that screen would create some separation. So I get it. I get that decision from the Raptors. But this being said, Jameson Battle, be better than this. You can't just run over guys like this. So you cost yourself the chance to make it a 1 point game, and then they go down the other end, and Devin Booker hits a game winner over Jonathan Mobo, who, by the way, checks in with 9 seconds to go because they're trying to protect Scotty Barnes from picking up his fourth or fifth foul. My point here is it should have been a 1 point game, could have been a 1 point game, could have been a 2 point game. Instead, you walk into the fourth quarter down six, and the momentum is quickly building. And here you have caught up, right? So at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the Raptors were down big. They ended up getting down in double digits. All hope was lost. Here, good shit, man. Okay, so wait, let's see if this is good shit. I don't remember this play. So here, yeah, I remember this play. Scotty Barnes, stunt dribble, boom, one elbow, and right over Oso Ighodaro. You can't stop you. Like, Oso is a really good defender. Really good defender. Like, people who don't watch him, who don't understand defense, I promise you, he is a good defender. But he can't stop Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram. Like, he shouldn't be able to. Here, Royce O'Neal, he's going to try his luck. Why they decide to go single coverage with Royce O'Neal against Brandon Ingram, I'll never understand. But one of the reasons could be that Emmanuel Quickley is in the fucking corner. You flatten out the court, right? You flatten out the baseline. Everybody's running baseline, and boom. What does this do potentially? I mean, with 10 seconds to go, this could potentially lead to RJ Barrett coming around, popping up above the break. It's kind of unsettling for the defense, and they don't have a shot blocker on the court right now. So here, Ingram is just going to take this time. And Jalen Green is not a good help defender here, and he is completely abandoned. Both corners have been vacated, just so we're clear. All defenders for the Phoenix Suns are in the paint right now. You see what this has done for the fucking defense? Like, this is every option is open right now for Ingram. He could flip this back to quickly, get a wide open three. He can also give this to Jacoby. That would be pretty much wide open for him. But he could also turn over his other shoulder and get a wide open shot. This is just horrible defense by Royce O'Neal. And this is what happens when you're tired, man. 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, you start to feel those legs. Now here, this was a sickening play by the Toronto Raptors. They're up. They've picked up a lead. 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go. RJ Barrett goes one-on-one against Grayson Allen, gets the pump fake. And here, on what should be just a simple layup, misses it. RJ's touch around the rim was not great today. Here, Devin Booker looking around. Jacoby, closeout. And look who it is. It's RJ Barrett who loses his man. And boom, there goes three. So that's tough, man. That's a tough outcome for the Raptors if you're looking at it from that perspective. Here I say Devin Booker is washed. I'm not really a big D Book guy. I know I advocated for the Raptors to potentially trade 3 first-round picks for him last year, but I'm kind of relieved they didn't. He's fallen off big time this year. And because the Suns are good, people don't care, and it's not a big storyline because it seems weird to hate on a guy who's on a winning team. However, sheesh. Brandon Ingram, very late contest. Devin Booker, airball. Sheesh. Let's watch that again. Airball. Sheesh. Let's watch that again. Airball. Great. Good shit, man. Now, my favorite play of the game was just one of my favorite sequences of the game. Raptors are up 4 with 48 seconds to go. Here comes Jalen Green against Scotty Barnes, right? Crossover, bad reach by Scotty. But you know something I say about defenders? Every good defender is going to get beat. It's how you recover that matters. Now, this is a bullet. Jalen Green might be one of the 10 fastest players in the NBA. He's also one of the most explosive athletes in the NBA. He's one of the most explosive finishers in the NBA. I want you to see what happens when a Brinks truck comes into a concrete wall, because that's what happened right here. Mute this for a second here. Nah, it's not a Brinks truck. It's a Ferrari. Dude, that's one of the nastiest blocks you're going to see in your life. That's not a block. He erased his existence. Like he erased his fucking existence. Jalen Green going to Google himself and Google going to say, did you mean Jalen Suggs? Did you mean Javonte Green? He doesn't exist after this. This is over. He deleted his existence from this game. Yes, Jalen Green had a mighty 34 points, but dude, that's one of his. And I don't want to be clear about something. By the way, just by the way, this is his best friend in the entire league. That's his best friend in the entire league. If unless something has changed over the last 3 years, that's his best friend. Not best friend in the world, but like best friend in like the NBA. That's his dude. That's his dog. That's like the guy he would love to play with. And look what he just did to him, man. Scotty, this is how you treat your friends. Y'all remember the club you were in? Come on, man. You just erased his existence, man. Man, that joke was cringe. What joke? How about this? You tell us a better joke. Okay. Boom. What's that thing you say? Don't react. Don't wait. Boom. And this time, RJ finishes. Nah, it's Cade. You don't know what you're talking about. No, it's not. Cade is Scotty's best friend in the league. No, he's not. Everyone was very, very excited. Super hype. I mean, that's fair. He did cock the ball back. He probably should just put it up. But I mean, if you look at it from this perspective, does Scotty need him to cock it back to block the shot? Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, if you just go under, Jalen Green's crazy, bro. Based on mouthwash video, that was 2 teammates talking about mouthwash making a freaking TikTok video. What's wrong with you, man? All right. Cool. Canada is losing versus USA baseball. So is something happening in the world of baseball that I am not aware of? I would assume so. Anyway, that was an exciting game. For people who actually attended it, I think that was pretty cool. Sorry guys, I don't know shit about baseball. I mean, I tried to learn a little bit when the Blue Jays were in the World Series, but I really don't know a lot about baseball. I wish I could add more context to the discussion, but I do not know. In the close-up, it's not even the ball. It's the other arm that got hit. It was a foul. Well, shout out to Scotty for getting away with a clean foul. You're not taking this moment away from me, man. You're not taking it away from me. Scotty Barnes did not play a great game by any means. Obviously, rest up, Scotty Barnes, heal up. whatever illness, whatever. But slowly but surely, all of the Raptors are starting to fire together, right? It was first RJ Barrett, who could not buy a bucket. This is back to back to back games of RJ Barrett being productive and not totally disruptive. And we even saw some good defense today. Brandon Ingram, he was in a cold slump. He is finally heating up. That is great. You know, the last two games have been a lot better than the previous three. Now, if we can just get Scotty rolling and Emmanuel quickly rolling again, maybe this team has a chance. Now, yesterday I suggested that the Raptors make a change to the starting lineup. Yeah, I feel that way. But if you make the change to the closing lineup, I'm just fine with it. My change to the starting lineup proposed was Jamison Battle stepping in for RJ Barrett, giving RJ Barrett some time to roam with the second unit. RJ had plenty of time to roam with the second unit and looked good. Jamison Battle played plenty of minutes with the starting lineup today, and it looked good. Okay, Jamison and Jacoby provide spacing that this team desperately needs. So does Mamu. All your spacing can't be on the bench because on the bench, you have the one guy who can't utilize spacing properly, which is Jamal Shed. He's not a good finisher. He's not a good driver. He's not some super athlete. He's not a good pull-up jump shooter. So it's really, if you wanted to make one simple swap with the Raptors, honestly, Jamal Shed into the starting lineup, Emmanuel quickly with the bench, maybe that would work. No, that wouldn't work. What am I saying? That's the stupidest thing I've ever said. No. The point is, quickly would utilize the bench a little bit better. Jamal Shed would utilize the starters a little bit better. Neither lineup would necessarily work, but I do think Jamison Battle, Jacoby Walter, Sandro Mamukelashvili, these guys, these move you into productive zones when you're talking about Emmanuel Quickly, Emmanuel Quickly, Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram. What's the best lineup to utilize them? Sometimes it just means Jamison Battle and Jacoby Walter are going to have to play with those three guys. Sometimes it's going to mean RJ and Mamu. But either way, it shouldn't be RJ and Yak. I think that's where you fall into complications of lineup synergies, lack of spacing. Where do you put Scotty? Where do you put RJ? Where do you put Yak? They do have to occupy somewhere on the court, right? And again, when you get the ball to Scotty Barnes in the middle off of a shifting defense, that is where he is dangerous. The Raptors have to create more and more looks in that situation. The Raptors have to continue to find opportunities for Brandon Ingram to get clean threes so he can get rhythm, opportunities for Ingram to cook one-on-one when those opportunities present themselves. They have to bend the court a little bit and manipulate the defense a little bit to get the matchups they want. That's where the Raptors really struggle. Sometimes the team will be very good at manipulating the floor. So, for instance, you have a guy like James Harden. If James Harden was on this team, or even Kyrie Irving was on this team, there's a lot of dribble manipulation. There's a lot of pass manipulation. There's a lot of sets manipulation that you can do to orient the court how you want it. I don't think it's something we've talked about a lot on this channel, which is the role of the point guard in shaping the defense as the offensive point guard. I have to read just like a quarterback, right? If to those people who watch football, as a quarterback, I have to understand the defensive coverage. Now, the defensive coverage is such that I need to manipulate that defensive coverage before I set up my offense. So both things have to be kind of sped up in tandem, right? So let's just say I have Brandon Ingram calling for the ball on the left block, but I see that the shot blocker is shading over, is moving over. Now, these are all moving targets. When you're the point guard, you have 9 moving targets around you. 5 of them are trying to stop you, 4 of them are trying to help you. So trying to understand where is the zone. Now, where you get fucked up is when you make up your mind beforehand. This is like the worst thing you can do as a point guard. Like, this is going to be an Ingram touch or this is going to be an RJ touch. Where you can also get fucked up is when you zone in too tightly into a particular part of the court and then forget about the other side of the court, right? And that's where you miss open shooters. That's when you miss open, cutters. That's when you get turnovers because you're not seeing the full scope. You don't see the court well enough to understand the full gravity of what's happening on the court. So let's say Ingram is calling for the ball on the left block. Emmanuel quickly is going to have the bright idea. Let me get Ingram the ball because he's calling for it. But the defense is already loaded up on that outcome, right? A good point guard. Okay, so let's go through bad, good, great. Okay, because this is kind of like shit. This is kind of touching on a members live that we did a few months ago, the levels of basketball IQ. So let's just say a bad point guard is going to throw the pass to Ingram, regardless of the coverage, regardless of the gap help, regardless of the shot blocker shading behind. And they're going to put Ingram in a much worse situation, right? A good point guard is probably going to go towards Ingram and then pass away from Ingram. So they're going to gesture that they're doing exactly what they think everyone thinks they're going to do. And then just in the last second, when the defense commits to it, they're going to fling it to the opposite corner and they're going to see Jacoby Walter or Scotty Barnes open for a wide open three. It's going to shift the entire defense. But a great point guard like the Chris Pauls, the Jason Kidds, they're still going to get the ball to Ingram. They're just going to shift everything around before they do it to make it easier for him. So maybe that means that as they see the defense cheating towards Ingram, they are going to drive middle, right? Collapse the paint, fake the shot, pass out to the corner, set it up so that that drive is an easy pass. And that drive is going to unlock an above the break three for Ingram. They're going to see the 1, 2, 3. Now, good players, good point guards need good, smart players to play off of them. As smart and as awesome as, Steve Nash is, it's not going to work if Amari Stoudemire is a complete dumbass. It's not going to work if Raja Bell and Sean Marion don't understand how to cut off the ball. As good as Jason Kidd is in New York, in New Jersey, it's not going to work if Kenyon Martin isn't instinctively incredible at filling space. So these things all have to work in tandem. Very often you'll see Scotty Barnes want to do the second, third level type of thing, but he's forced into doing the first level thing because nobody else on the court can register what he's thinking. And maybe he doesn't know how to communicate it. Maybe he needs better teammates, smarter teammates, older teammates. I don't know what it is. But ultimately, if you want to win in the playoffs, manipulating the court is how you win in the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, Marc Gasol. Manipulation, manipulation, manipulation. It's incredible how well these guys manipulated the court, bent the court. Fred VanVleet, occasionally, right? Tyrese Halliburton, incredible manipulator of the game, incredible improviser of the game, incredible at spotting just exactly where your gaps are and where your weaknesses are and making the connective pass. Pascal Siakam has also grown a long way into becoming the type of player who can capitalize on those advantages. So this type of high-level basketball IQ, Luka, Shea, Jokic, guys like this, you look even like grizzled veterans like, as I said, Kyle Lowry, James Harden, you know, this is the type of stuff that wins you close series. This is the type of shit that wins you close games. Unfortunately, the Raptors don't have a lot of it. So unfortunately, they end up throwing the ball to the guy who's screaming for it, regardless of what the defense looks like. Now, once the ball does go into a guy who's massively overloaded, if that guy is an incredible passer, then it's a very easy connective pass to a dunk. However, Ingram's connective passing has been a little bit of a, up and down story this year. So I would say if Ingram can get better at, reading the game a little bit quicker, if he can get a little bit less dribble the air out of the basketball, load up the defense, and be more willing to trust his teammates out of those situations, I think it'll be a lot better. And, trust is not something that's easily built. It's not built overnight. There's a lot of teams out there that maybe have trust issues that, after 2 years, you'll see guys start to like settle into their role and start to understand where they each want it. But of course, as Scotty gets better, Ingram's going to trust him more. And as RJ gets better or Jacoby gets better, Ingram's going to trust them more. I just think that you need to be great teams are willing to trust before the trust is secure. Like, and I think that's kind of a great philosophical note to end on. It's that sometimes you just have to believe things are true before they're actually true. Rob, do you expect the Raptors to make it back to the 6th seed? Well, let's just check how the Raptors, our beloved Toronto Raptors, are doing right now. Let's see here. Okay, so okie doke. So let's see. The Raptors are now a half a game behind the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic. Okay. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Raptors will play the Orlando Magic again, and they also play the Heat multiple times. So let's just see here. We play Orlando once, right there. That was a very important game. We also play Miami back to back twice. Lord help me if Bam Adebayo goes off 50 points against my favorite team. I'm gonna be pissed off because people are thinking I'm a Bam hater. Anyways, this is a tough stretch for the Raptors coming up. This next 4 games, 5 games, 6 games. Like you got New Orleans again, a team that just beat you. So, think vengeance for sure. You got the LA Clippers who are playing some of their most inspired and best basketball of the season. I think you've got a great matchup for Kawhi and Scotty Barnes, but other than that, Ben Mathurin, Darius Garland, they present all world of problems for the Raptors, and Brook Lopez, obviously a stretch big. The Utah Jazz should be an easy win because they're deliberately trying to lose games. So let's count up the guaranteed victories and see where the Raptors could end up at the end of the season. Okay. So, fun fact. The Raptors over under according to Vegas coming into the season was 37.5. One more victory and they will beat that. So that's good. Now the updated one by the time preseason rolled around was like 39.5. So they have a ways to go. They will get this game against Chicago. I'm confident. So that's one win. So you can put it to 38. I believe they will get the win against Utah. So there's 39. I believe they will get the second game against New Orleans. That's 40. I believe they will get Sacramento, Memphis. That's 42. I believe they will split with Miami. That's 43. And I know that they will get Brooklyn, and that's 44. 44 games, 44 wins. So 44 wins, 38 losses is the absolute worst case scenario for the Raptors, in my humble opinion. Let's talk best case scenario. Best case scenario is, okay, let's just do some counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you got 16 games left. Best case scenario would be 14-2. Let's see. Who do you beat? You beat Detroit. Shock the world. You beat the Bulls. You beat the Nuggets. You beat the Suns. You beat the Jazz. You lose to the Clippers. Then you restart, beat them, lose here, win. It's ambitious. 14-2 is crazy. Realistic outcome, probably somewhere in the middle of those two, right? So I said minimum I expect 7 more wins. That's a minimum. Maximum 14. Split the difference, call it 11. I think the Raptors go 11-5 to close out the season. That would be great, by the way. 11-5 would put them at 48 wins, which would be amazing. 48 wins clears Vegas's estimate coming into the season by 10. It also shuts up Bill Simmons because at 48 wins, I do believe the Raptors would catch one of either Miami or Orlando. So that would be cool. And you know what? You just want to playing better basketball. I said it, earlier. This Chicago game is the last game where you can really, really, catch a momentum here, right? You need to be good by March 18th. 48 would be great. 44, 45, 46, 47, whatever. You were a 30-win team last year. Okay. So getting to 44 wins is not it's not a cataclysmic collapse. It's a 14-game improvement. We can be okay with that. 44 will probably land you in the play-in, though. I just want to be clear about that. But I will also remind you that there are teams that have made the playoffs with under 40 wins in the past. So what does it really say about how bad the Eastern Conference really is? You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest narrative talking point of the season is everybody walked into the season saying, oh my God, this is a really, really bad conference. This is a really bad conference. Well, you know what? I don't think it's that bad a conference. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's that bad of a conference. I think this conference is better than people realize. And that's just where I'm at with it. That's where I'm at with it, man. I think it's better than people realize. Also, shout outs to the New Orleans Pelicans pushing the Houston Rockets, two of the Raptors' most recent opponents, to a 1-possession game down the stretch. I wonder what happened in that game. I'll probably end up watching it later. Anyways, thank you all for tuning into Pensare Basketball. I fully expected midway through the third quarter the Raptors would lose this game. I had no hope. This team looked like it was fumbling. Scotty looked very hurt. Scotty looked kind of out of it. and then Brandon Ingram took over the game, and Scotty Barnes capped it off with that incredible block slash foul, according to some people. I don't care. Erasure of Jalen Green. And, shout outs, man. The Raptors got a very, very much needed team win here. And again, I will be very curious to see where the Raptors do end up in the playoff picture. But they have a huge, huge test on Sunday coming up. Sunday is also Oscars Day. So we will be very prompt with our live on Sunday. The second the game is over, we are doing a live. The game starts at 3:30. Uh-oh. Yeah. The game starts at 3:30. I we have Penn Dance is doing a thing with U of T, like one of the U of T student organizations where we're going to be donating some stuff to for the Oscar party. So I have to be down at U of T by 7 o'clock, which means if the game goes into overtime, I'm gonna have to send my girlfriend down to U of T to make sure that the prizes are in place, and then I'll probably be doing like a 1 hour post game against the Pistons. But I will do the post game regardless of if it goes into double overtime, triple overtime, whether it's a blowout, whether it's a triumphant win. I'm sure if it's a win, people are gonna want to have long conversations. We can talk about it the next day if you want a longer conversation. But the post game on Sunday will probably be an hour. Typically, these games go 2.5 hours, 3:30, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Yeah, it makes sense. Um, the Oscars start at 7 o'clock. So I'm assuming a lot of people are going to want to watch the Oscars anyway. Let me know later on if you're watching this video what your picks are for the Oscars. If you have any picks, I haven't watched all the films yet, which is kind of crazy because I'm in the industry and I run a film festival and I'm a filmmaker and I haven't watched all the films. But I am just like, I'm going in as a complete casual. I'm like, I want Sinners to win every single award they can. I want them to break every record that they can. I love Ryan Coogler and I love Michael B. Jordan so much. And I love that film so much. I want it to win everything. I know it won't. And, shout outs to Chloe Zhao as well. Maybe if they win everything but Best Director, I'll be fine with it. But yeah. The East is more competitive now, 5 through 9. I agree. Much of the reason why people said the East was not competitive is because people said that Boston was not going to be a problem this year. Boston is a major problem this year. Boston's been a major problem for everybody this year. So this idea that, oh, the East is bad. Well, yeah, like you're wrong about the Pistons because the Pistons have turned into a dominant powerhouse of a team. They've now won 3 straight after dropping a couple. So they're back on track and they are running away with the Eastern Conference. This is a surprise, right? But their performances have held up against top level Western Conference teams as well. So this is not just a matter of like, oh, the Pistons are good. They're 30 games above 500 because they're just beating up on the East. No, they're beating up on the East. But they're also beating up on the West. They're kicking the West's ass. They're 32-10 versus their conference, right? But they're also like 22-10 on the road. Like the Pistons are a legit basketball team. They're incredible defensively. And look at that differential. It's number 1 in the Eastern Conference. It's number 2 in the league. They're only behind OKC. So again, if you want to take this as a league-wide approach to like who are the best teams in the league, oof, how does that feel? Okay. In terms of win percentage, the Raptors are right here, smack dab between the Atlanta Hawks and the Miami Heat. And honestly, the Miami Heat just got Norman Powell. They have Bam Adebayo. They have Tyler Hero. Every one of those players is older than Scotty Barnes. So when I look at this from a perspective of like the future is brighter, the Raptors have suffered a ton of injuries. They've had injuries to Jakob Poeltl. They've had injuries to Scotty Barnes that he's played through. They've had injuries to Colin Murray Boyles, who's a vital part of what they're doing right now. Um, you know, RJ Barrett missed like half the season at one point. Like it hasn't been a clean bill of health for the Raptors, and I think that they have have you tapped into the draft yet? Yes, I have. Yeah, I have been doing a lot of work on the draft. In fact, my draft work has been taking over my life over the last 3 days, and it's actually stopped me from doing pen dance work. So I have to tonight at 11:30 when I end this live in like 2 minutes, I have to go and do like probably 3 hours of pen dance work and then get back to draft shit. No, I've been working on the draft for real. I want to have like really deep conversations with guys that I respect in the draft world, but they've been watching all year and I haven't been. And I'm definitely not one of those people, as you know, from last year, that's going to be like hopping on to, some video and taking like some random person's advice on like what I think I should think about these prospects, which is what a lot of people do, unfortunately, right? Like guys like Brian Windhorst, they're self-admitted. I don't watch a lick of college basketball, but I know one thing about this guy, and everyone likes this guy, and that's just it. To me, that's cycling bad information. You don't know if you haven't put in the work to earn the information for yourself, then you're just repeating. You're a parrot, right? And that to me is just never the concept that I want to go for. So for me, if I'm going to have a strong opinion on Yaxel Landerborg, I got to watch 6 games, 7 games of Yaxel, and that takes a lot of time, man. Um, I'm trying to better manage my time by better managing my energy. This year, I have a new rule, which I'm trying to impose, and I think it's a good rule for life. And I think that I've shared it before, but I'll share it again here just in case, like a life improvement uh, blip. I no longer listen to people telling me about. I want to share like actually a couple of cool realizations for me. I no longer am willing to share problems with people unless I'm willing to present a solution within the same sentence. Here's a problem. I'm hungry. You ever listen to people complain about being hungry? You ever listen to people complain about being in a dead end relationship? You ever listen to people complaining about how working out is too hard, or how they hate their boss, or how they hate their job, or how they wish they could do this, or they wish they could do that? This is rumination. This is toxic. It's stupid. It's a waste of time. Don't do it. So, the rule that I have imposed now is if I complain about something, I must present a solution. The Raptors starting lineup doesn't work. This is the solution. The Raptors are not getting Brandon Ingram in good slots. This is the solution. The Raptors have limited cap flexibility. This is the solution. The Raptors don't have enough first round picks going forward. This is the solution. I want to be solutions oriented. I'll give you a really small anecdote in terms of how this immediately shaped, or like redefined how I thought about things. There was a problem that came up at Pendance 2025, and the same problem came up in Pendance 2026. It was a very similar problem. In 2025, I complained about it all weekend. I complained about it to my girlfriend, just to my girlfriend. I was just like, "This is happening, and this is bad." And I don't want to use names in case that person ends up watching this, but it was about a particular individual who was just doing a horrible job at what they were doing, and I just kept like, "Oh, like, can you help this person do this better? Can you help this person?" And it's just like complain, complain, complain. But now I have this new rule where I can't complain about something unless I'm willing to present a solution. And so this time, I noticed this person was slipping at that exact same job that they struggled at last year. I remembered what we went through last year, and I was like, I can't complain about this to anybody unless I present a solution. And so I immediately presented a solution. Let's put them in another department because we have a need for their specific skill set in another department. And let's take somebody from that department who's not being utilized, and let's put them in the job that this person has shown for 3 straight years they cannot do. And it was perfect. It was perfect. And do you know why? Because I thought about solutions. I am just brimming with solutions right now. That's what it is. And this is a shift. I'll give you a second thing. And this is a random anecdote, but this is very true. I have had an aversion to saying yes to things a lot over the last few years. People will hit me up for, do you want to talk about sponsorships? And I'll kind of drag the email out a little bit, right? So, you know, opportunities kind of go away, right? You're thinking about them, thinking about it. So I've been thinking about it. Why am I so reluctant to seize opportunities? Why am I so reluctant to reach out to somebody? Why am I so reluctant to answer somebody who's just like, "Oh, do you want to go for a coffee?" And I'm just like, I don't know. I think it is precisely because for about a few years now, I've had a, let's call it diminished self-worth, if you will, maybe a lack of self-confidence, maybe a lack of self perspective, maybe a lack of focus, lack of clarity, lack of problem solving. I don't know. Brain problem, personality problem, psychology problem, life problem. Don't know. However, whatever it was keeping me away from saying yes to things. Because once I said yes to things, I didn't know how to say no to things. Let me give you an example. Your friend says, "Do you want to check out this awesome art exhibit that my friend is doing?" You say, "What?" "No." "Yes." Whatever. But what is your decision based on? My decision was based on, I don't want to spend 2 hours if I hate it. But here's the cool thing. Once you show up there and you hate it, you can leave. Blip. My brain wasn't figuring that out. I don't know why my brain did not figure out, like, yeah, you can just leave. If your friend invites you to a movie and you say yes to the movie and the movie absolutely sucks, you can totally just excuse yourself and you can go do something else. You don't have to commit to something forever. So even like this thing, like now every opportunity that comes to me, I'm just like, yes. Not almost every opportunity. I'm just like, yeah. You want to talk about this? Yes. Do you want to do this? Yes. Do you want to show up to this? Yes. Do you want to help sponsor this? Yes. Do you want to learn more about this thing that you absolutely morally hate? Yes. Because I can now say no. And the power to say no somehow unlocked my power to say yes. This is so interesting how kind of like backwards life can be sometimes, because the power to forgive other people will give you the power to forgive yourself. It's just so, life is so paradoxical. That's something. I'll share with you one more random anecdote that you may glean some wisdom out of. So today I got an email. Now I'm feeling a little tight financially. Okay. Channel not doing super well. Obviously, my own fault. I skipped 2 post games. Views have been down a lot. YouTube revenue sucks this month. Okay. So we're gonna have to come up with a bit of a shortfall solution because I also happen to pay a huge chunk of my mortgage right after Pendants ended. And I had like a certain calculus on like how much money was available and how much was comfortable. And then I have, someone who owes me quite a bit of money who just has completely ghosted me the last like 3 weeks. So I'm just like, uh-oh, this person owes a lot of money and it's building up fast and the debt is huge. And I don't know how to get a hold of this person. So I'm sort of like going into a familiar spiral of like money deprivation, which is my whole childhood, right? Is money deprivation. We don't have money. That's why you can't get this thing that you want for Christmas. When your parents condition you to think that money is something that is always in short supply, you sometimes develop like a really bad money mindset. Let me give you a solution that is going to fix a lot of your problems with money right away. Let me read the quote. I'm going to read the quote to you because this is something that really changed my life. Okay, so the problem that, it's not really a problem, but it was just a situation that came up today. The situation that came up today is I accidentally, very accidentally, and totally forgot that there was a payment that needed to be made last year for Pendants. So we're talking 2025, okay? 2025. It's not a huge amount. It's 500 bucks. It's 500 bucks. But it felt huge when I heard that we hadn't paid it. Now, obviously, we're going to pay it. We don't ignore our debts. We don't ignore our vendors. This person did a service for us. We owe them 500 bucks. But this is a $500 expense that just kind of came out of nowhere. And there's also a printing expense where the person who did the printing for us forgot to invoice us last year. These two expenses came this year. So they were technically 2025 expenses from an accounting perspective. And because an invoice was either ignored or not sent, they became 2026 expenses. Now, our festival barely broke even this year. I am obviously like just floating by financially. And suddenly there's these two expenses. And it can be a little debilitating because the two expenses sum total average, they total up to like 1,500 bucks. So you're like, okay, $1,500. Now, there's a bad way and a good way to look at this. Let me show you the bad way. And this is the bad way that I've always looked at it. Oh man, I now have a $1,500 expense that I didn't have yesterday because two people who forgot to bill us or who we forgot to pay now want to be paid. And this money has to go out now. Unexpected expenses come up all the time. When you run a business or whether you don't run a business, unexpected expenses come up all the time. How do you deal with it? I think if you're like most people, you deal with it exactly like how I dealt with it for a very long time. You get a little bit panicky, you start scaving, you start cutting down your expenses, you start like slashing your budget by going away from name brand yogurt. You start like start like hitting up people and asking them to borrow money or something. Not that I ever hit up people to ask for borrow money. You cut down your expenses, maybe you cash out some investments. You just maybe you don't feel safe about money. So that's definitely the way I would have dealt with this a couple of years ago, for sure. I would have been like, "Oh my god, it's $1,500 I wouldn't pay." Well, today I looked at it more sensibly. This is not a new expense. This is an old expense, and Given what I know about the time value of money, I actually should count it as a blessing that for an entire year, I was able to hold on to $1,500 that weren't mine to hold on to. If these people had billed me last year, I would have lost this money last year. So technically, if I properly used this $1,500, as in if I invested it properly, I probably earned about 10 to 12% interest on something that wasn't mine to begin with. So there's a good way to look at it. Here's another good way to look at it, and this is what I'll leave you with. Here's a quote. It's not a quote from anybody. It's just something I wrote down. If the problem can be solved with money and you have the money, it's not actually a problem, it's a transaction. Now, I have no idea if I subconsciously picked this up from someone else, if this is a famous quote from somebody, but it just came to me and I wrote it down today and I'm like, man, this seems a little too profound to be coming from my head. So at the risk of, being called plagiarizing, I'm just going to say somebody smart came up with it. And if that someone smart was me, cool. But it is a good thing to live by. Okay. If, repeat it again, if the problem can be solved with money and you have the money, it's not actually a problem. It's a transaction. That's what it is. So, do I have the money to pay off these vendors? Yes, I do. Is it going to squeeze me a little bit, make me a little uncomfortable for a bit? Yes. But I will live with it. I will deal with it. And honestly, that level of confidence, it's a good thing. Helps you sleep at night. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Have a very, very wonderful night. Peace.